And everybody, welcome to the Arkansas Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. I'm Jason. I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us today. It is October 4th, Friday, and well, as some folks say, it's Friday because end of the work week. So I want to thank you guys again for jumping on with us today. So I want to bring Dudley on. We're going to go over some baseball, a little bit of softball, a little bit of football as well. I mean, of course, football is kind of the forefront right now, but there's a lot still going on the university. So, Dudley, how's it going, man?
End of the work week, not for us. Not for
Yeah,
us.
it's kind of like,
Baseball tonight, football tomorrow night, and then doubleheader softball at 1 and 3:30 on Sunday. So did my best to get some rest, get ready to dive into this, and looking forward to it.
yeah, it's going to be fun. Like you said, it's kind of our middle of the work week, really, because our down days are Monday. Well, really Monday, Tuesday, kind of, or maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. But then after that, everything
will be
fires back
Monday
up
and
again.
Tuesday next week. During the off football week, that's for sure.
Man, I want to tell you what, it's really nice to know that we've got a little bit of a reprieve next week, something to look forward to, and then again right before Texas. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a little bit of a another stretch where we're gonna have to kind of leg it out, but I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, hey, we could be out of work, so yeah.
Man, let's talk about this scrimmage that's coming up. We've got one today, I do believe, at Baum Walker, and also another one tomorrow that will precede the football game against Tennessee tomorrow. Give us a little bit of info on what we can expect from this weekend.
Well, they're going to have a fall classic tonight. I think they're taking tomorrow off, from what I understand. But fall classic tonight, split up. This will be their 11th different scrimmage. I think I've been to make it tonight. I've been at 10 of them. I only missed one. And so I think I've got a pretty good handle on what they've gotten now. And as far as the newcomers coming in, I'm still really high on Brent Iredale, the third baseman, Brenton Clark, and an outfielder. Two of the new guys who really are going to have to get, are expected to be a big part of the team this year. That Brent Clark just came in and he just kind of stamped his thing that he's going to be Heston Kirstead as a freshman. At least making those trying to reach those highs. He's a great left-handed hitter, has done really good things out there, and so I know the fans who haven't been able to make it out. I'm looking forward to it, and obviously then next weekend they're going to play Oklahoma State 6:00 on Friday night. Going to go 9 innings then, and then we're supposed to show up Sunday or Saturday at noon, and they're going to play anywhere from 10 to 12 to 14 innings. The two coaches are just going to keep going as long as they can on that Saturday. So, everybody will get a chance to throw and all that. I know that they're planning on just trotting out pitchers for 1 inning each tonight, and probably we'll do a lot of that the Friday night, and then we'll see what happens, on Saturday.
With Oklahoma State next week, and you were talking about that they were going to be playing anywhere between 10 and 14 innings. Do you see them splitting it up like a 5-5 game, 2 games on the weekend, or like a 7-7, for instance, on that Saturday? Have they talked anything about that?
They're just going to throw the first pitch at noon and keep playing until both coaches agree to quit playing. They want to get everybody. It's going to be the end of both of their fall baseball seasons. And so they want to get in as much as they can. If they run out of pitching, then they'll call it off. Everybody wants to get a chance to pitch in the stadium. There's certainly these new guys before a lot of fans, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of folks at the event next weekend. The 2 games next weekend probably be a nice amount there this weekend. It's a little bit different. They've usually gone best 3 of 5 during the fall classic. They're just going for 1 game because they've got the Oklahoma State scrimmages. But I would tell you that in all the scrimmages I've been to, there have been 50, 75, 100 people always there. But these kids who have not been to an Arkansas game, even though it's going to be an exhibition, are going to see what baseball at Baum Stadium is like coming up next weekend.
Really quick, we got one of our stalwarts that chimed in, Michael Kepsky. He said, "What's up, guys? Can DVH keep all? Can he keep all the difference makers?
The easy answer is no. There are 50 people on this roster. You can only take 40 into the season. So there are going to have to be 10 people that are on the roster right now. They're going to have to, they won't be able to play this year. Will play somewhere else. That's one of the things about these next 2 weeks. And I'm sure they've made some decisions already, but these are tough decisions in this day and age. The COVID rules don't really apply anymore. And you're going to have to lock it down at 40. So there are some pitchers who may be pitching for their scholarship or pitching for some money or pitching for a spot at junior college these next 2 weekends. So, I could probably name 35 without missing one. I think I know 35 people will be on this team, but 5 of the last 15, those are going to be the interesting spots.
Yeah, because I mean, you got one guy that might be able to make a difference that you might send down that you might have to bring back next year. So I think,
Right.
like you said, it's going to be a really hard decision for Dave and for Matt and for Nate to be able to make those decisions. Because at the end of the day, all 3 of those guys are going to have an integral part. I know that Dave's going to have the final say so, but there's got to be some arguments from both sides, from pitching and from hitting, of what type of numbers you're going to see from both sides.
Yeah, and you've got some guys that haven't gone this fall. Aiden Jimenez, from Oregon State, who was injured last year and didn't pitch, and is still rehabbing. He'll be ready to go in the spring. Obviously, Kendall Diggs. You've got also Hunter Dietz, who Coach Van Horn's really high on. Colin Fisher. There's a lot of guys that you haven't seen this fall that the other guys have gotten an opportunity to take a step forward. Some of them have, some of them haven't. Like I said, I'm not going to embarrass anybody on here. I'll let them make the decisions. There are a few guys, I think, that won't be here after the semester. And that will be best for everybody. In this day and age, especially in transfer portal and all this, you don't get to come and sit in red shirt and wait your turn. They've got to play immediately right now. And you may have some guys that certainly redshirt that will be right there on the bubble, but it's going to be some close calls, especially in pitching, because they have tons and tons of arms.
Is there a name that you possibly have in the back of your brain that you might see transferring at the semester that we might not have thought about yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The guys that I think are going to be an integral part of this team, I think everybody is excited in what they're going to do. They've certainly spread the playing time around. The good thing about having inter-squad scrimmages is you can put sometimes he bats 12 with 3 DHs. And gives an opportunity. He has 2 catchers, 2 second basemen, that work during the game. So they're able to do whatever they want to. A lot of things that they've done this year have been situational things with first and third, getting butts down, running pickoffs, stuff that you didn't necessarily see them do during these scrimmages. But during on our message board on the things, I just put situational work, and they don't count the runs and all that. But no, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be surprising that is not here. I think there are some names that probably hadn't been brought up. Haven't pitched. If you haven't pitched and you haven't played in a scrimmage game, the writing's on the wall. You know what's going on here.
Yeah.
But I would say they've had a core of 25 hitters and a core of like 10 pitchers that I would say those people, if you've seen me put their name up on the board, then they're going to make it.
See, that's a really good tease to go back and look at all of your notes on Hogville and the Omahogs tab in the hogville.net message boards. So that way you guys can kind of keep an eye on exactly who Dudley has been talking about, who has been making an impact, and process of elimination. Not mark off the names that you've seen, and then that'll kind of give you a legend on who Dudley's talking about at this point. As Dave uses the fall scrimmages kind of like a spring training in a way, heading into February and March of next year.
Yeah, and here's a real big thing too that we've seen injuries crop up at Arkansas the past few years. Some during the fall, some
Yep.
during the early spring. You've got to get everybody healthy through these next 2 weeks, and that's pitching. You're going to be having some stressful pitching in situations when you're at Oklahoma State. A little bit more stressful than when you're just playing your fellow teammates. So you got to be careful. That's why you always see them go 1 or 2 innings. They're getting enough pitching in, and then they'll start building it back up after they come back to school in January. And right then the season's right on you. February obviously is I think middle of February. I think I told my beautiful wife Petra that the first baseball game of the year is on Valentine's Day. So we're gonna have February 13th is our Valentine's, I think. But yeah, the first baseball game easy to remember because it's on the 14th. They have 4 Washington State, and then they go for their annual trip to Arlington, where you have TCU, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State, Michigan, and TCU.
Yeah, that's going to be a great lineup too in Globe Life Stadium. So, I want to also bring up what Michael Kepsky also said. A&M seems like they are going to be the odds-on favorite heading into the season just because of what they did last year, what they've got coming back this year. Can Arkansas not only compete, but maybe be able to steal a series from A&M coming up this year?
Well, I can only offer up what I've seen from the Arkansas side, and I truly believe, and I don't just jump out on a limb unless it can support me. I truly believe this Arkansas baseball team is going to be better than the one last year. And I realize what I'm saying with Hagan Smith at the front of that rotation, and the other 2 guys pitched pretty well to start the season, but they didn't have depth in the relievers that they had, and they were very one-dimensional. It's kind of like an Earl Weaver type team back in the day. Mm-hmm. They didn't steal a lot of bases. They didn't move a lot of runners over. That's been a big focus this year. So I do think this team's more versatile, more athletic, will do a lot more. They worked on hitting the ball in the opposite field. They really focused on their deficiencies from last year. And it's easy to point out those deficiencies. You can just go look at stats from last year and the year before. I do think Kendall Diggs is going to come back and have a monster year, and I'm happy for that. He struggled last year. We all know that, and it was tough to watch. And he was hurt now, but that kid's been so good for this university. I mean, he is more than any other player. I think he stayed and signed autographs and for the kids and all that. And so I'm looking forward to a big year from him, hoping that he has it, because you don't necessarily root, but you want people who have are good people to have success.
Yep, they are. And I like the fact that Dave has made a point and a focus to have more of a contact team than more of I wouldn't say swing for the fences, but a team that is able to also get hits with 2 outs, or the big bugaboo like last year was getting guys across home plate that are in scoring position.
Well, I believe that over the course of since February of last year to now, I have watched 162 Major League Baseball games and 56 college games where moving the runner over and, having more than just hitting home runs has been a problem. 2 outs, or 1 out with somebody in scoring position. It hadn't happened to me with my Major League team, the Cardinals, who fired their hitting coach today, by the way.
Yep, sure did.
No ill will, but him being Paul Goatsmith's good buddy. Paul's not coming back, and neither is Dusty Blake. But, that's just part of fundamental baseball, and they've gotten away from it, both the Cardinals and the Razorbacks. And it's a lot of times it has to do with personnel. Sometimes it has to do with direction and coaching. But I just believe from what I've seen this fall, and I've only missed 7 innings. And I really feel good about this team. Now, going back to the original question, can they beat A&M in Omaha? First thing they got to do is get to Omaha. They hadn't gotten there the past 2 years. You got to manage or coach your team this year And he knows this. Coach Van knows this, and he's forgotten more about baseball than I know. But you've just got to have a situation this year where you can get this team to the finish line in great shape. The Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, all of those teams that are being upstarts in the Major League Baseball playoffs so far played well down the stretch. They didn't. They had periods during the season where they didn't play as well. I mean, Detroit's just unbelievably fundamentally in the way they play the game. Right? 35-13 in their last 48 games, and they were almost 10 games behind our buddy Bob Holtz's Love and Life. In terms of that is a deficiency that so many major league teams, so many college teams have to get corrected, and you can't just sit around and wait for the home run.
Yeah, you can't. I was at Kauffman Stadium last year watching the Royals and the Twins play. That was the Bobby Witt Jr. Grand Slam walk-off. And I feel like, and I'm not saying it just because I was there, I feel like that moment was something that really kind of spun that Kansas City team into the spot that they're in now, because it was a bunch of young guys with a couple of older guys that not only found a way to win, but took that confidence and perpetuated it over the offseason through the last 162 games. And I think you're going to see one of these wild card teams make the World Series, have an unbelievable run, and I think that you have to look at what that team did. I should say, the team that was able to drive runners in after the fifth inning in scoring position. I think that's one of the things that I've noticed, where a team that catches fire in a wild card spot has made it to the World Series. And I'm wanting to say that there's a possibility that the Royals might knock off Otis's Yankees.
Could happen. Certainly, what I would say about the Royals and the Tigers, they've done an unbelievable job while being bad of developing players and drafting players and adding guys like Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans. The pitching staff has been something that has elevated them. I get tired of listening to Cardinals general manager John Mozeliak and this and that and this and that. They're going to make a transition now, and I'm Bloom. It's, by the way, I didn't know that Chaim spelled Heim. I've been calling him Chime for a while. It's Heim Bloom. I do believe you got poor money in development, you got poor money in decisions. We had like the oldest team in the major leagues this year. And I remember, I'm tying this back in. I remember when Dave Van Horn once said, if you've got an older baseball team, well, you didn't recruit the right players. Because they need to be gone by the time they're juniors. That's what they come here. They come here for to win ball games, to develop and go on and be in the major leagues. And they've had great runs of people in the major leagues. By the way, Baltimore trade Heston somewhere. If you're not going to play him, trade him somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't sit there and take a talent like Heston and keep having him go back and forth. AAA.
We will trade you. Go back down. We will trade you Ryan Helsley, the closer that y'all need. We would trade y'all, for Heston right up. I'll make that deal right now. I'll call Heim, and we'll make that deal right away. And while we're at it, let's just get all the Chicago White Sox Razorbacks out of Chicago too. I mean, man, it's
yes.
It's gonna be tough to watch the next few years. Dominic Fletcher, maybe they'll do what some of these other teams have and come back from it. But man, geez, over 120 losses, and I'm so happy for Hagen that he got all that money in. But man, any place else,
it's coming at a price at this point. Mm-hmm. All right, so Michael Kepsky, and this is going back to A&M and Texas for just a second, Dudley. He's wanting to get your thoughts on Jim Schlossnagle heading out of A&M, going for the Shorthorns, and they're playing each other. And are they playing each other this year? I think all the SEC teams are playing each other, if I'm not mistaken, or is that going to be just a rotational?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rotation. So there's some that are missing out, playing each other. you're trying to work that schedule out best you can. Now you got 16 teams, and remember there are no divisions anymore. It's just one long thing. Conference here. Here's what I would tell you is that I am usually pretty cool with most people in sports, most coaches and stuff. The coach who made that decision to move is not one of my favorites. He has a little bit of an attitude. He's a great coach, don't get me wrong, but it's just I probably feel like most of A&M Nation did it that not only did you cut me, you stabbed me in the back. And that
as if that rivalry doesn't need any more.
It was going on in the College World Series. Everybody knew what the deal was, and I didn't think it was fair to his current team. But that's just another reason when you grow up in Arkansas to, hate Burner.
Yep. And that really honestly adds some of the.
In fact, I think I told Patriot that my least favorite guy to interview, which by the way, in pro sports before they became pros, Kyler Murray and Tyreek Hill were the worst two when they were considering Arkansas.
Yeah, and I really think also with us going to Texas, I mean, as if this rivalry doesn't need any more fuel. There's a lot more fuel and hate that's just been added to this. I mean, it's like you put kerosene, gasoline, and jet fuel on a blazing fire at this point. Long and hot.
I'm wondering if Texas keeps winning, and I'm sure they will, as long as he's not doing a movie or a new Heather Sheridan series. If they're not filming that, then all right, we'll be on the sidelines here in Razorbacks Stadium here, and could very well be number one, at least in the top three.
Well, he's at least at a school that will support him in all of his allegations on people spying on him. So that's all I'm going to say about that because, Texas is always good at doing mess like that. So forget them. Anyway, so let's move forward. We got a football game coming up on Saturday, which Otis last night kept saying was today, even though I think he was on Friday time last night, but it is now tomorrow, 6:30 on ABC. You got the Vols coming in. They're a 13.5-point favorite. Taylor Green, I want to see the guy get some confidence back. I think that you'll see Bobby trying to give him more confidence in that first quarter. The guy that we saw starting against A&M last week was not the guy who ended the game last week. You have to get that guy that started the game last week to carry you through an entire 4 quarters. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys to the game, bro.
Yeah, and here's the problem is Arkansas's offensive line has not been played up to what it's capable of in the last couple of games. And Tennessee's defensive line has an 8-man rotation led by James Pierce Jr., defensive end edge rusher. He has only 3 tackles this year. And you're saying, well, why is he going to be a top 10 pick? Well, he has 3 tackles, but he had 11 pressures at Oklahoma State. 11 pressures of the quarterback. And he doesn't even play the whole game. They rotate people in there. That is one of the biggest strengths. Obviously, they've got a great offense as well. John Heifel has had 2 weeks to get them ready. I don't give Arkansas much of a chance. I think I'm objective and realistic. Some things will have to go right. They have been going wrong. You cannot throw the ball to the other team. You cannot have turnovers. You've got to have – one thing Arkansas does extremely well, and was pointed out this week by Coach Heifel, is Arkansas is extremely good on 3rd down. And that's
still leading the nation.
Some part because Quentin Jackson and others have been able to have a good rushing game, and they put them in 3rd and short. So they have a very high percentage on 3rd down conversions. Not so much on 4th down conversions, and that includes field goals and all that. But, I just think it's going to be an awfully tough game for Arkansas to win. The fact that it's at home, the fact that it's at night will give them an edge a little bit, but I think the people in Vegas are usually pretty smart, know what they're doing, or the people in Pine Bluff or the people in Hot Springs, however you want to say, whoever's setting the lines. I do think they got pretty much, and 13.5. I'm not a betting guy. Certainly if I was, I believe I'd probably take it.
Yeah, that's some good numbers there with that. I think one of the things that I've been listening to sports radio the last week, I've heard Houston Nutt talk about this and Arkansas finishing. I think that's keys that they've had a problem with in their 2 losses. One of the things, though, that I also noticed that Houston was talking about was being able to move the pocket for Talon. He had the same instance with Matt Jones whenever Matt was quarterback here. You couldn't put Matt between the tackles. You had to get him outside of the tackles. That's what Arkansas has got to do to get Talon back on track. Because when he gets outside of the tackles, he's able to make things happen with his legs. So that way it opens some guys up. And if it's not open and pulls defenders away, he can take off. I think that Bobby's going to try to do that a little bit more, just for the simple fact that Talon is throwing 60% or completing 60% of his passes outside of the pocket and only 50 inside. So at this point, if Arkansas is going to have any chance of winning, Talon has got to be able to get that pocket, be able to be moved, and get outside and make some things happen.
Yeah, and I agree with Coach Nutt on that. The problem I would say with that is that the pocket has collapsed so quickly, and it looks like Texas A&M had the snap count last week because their guys were in the back before he got to the end of his drop. And, so that became a big issue. They've got to do better in that regard, and it's going to be tougher because, again, you got, if not the best defensive line rotation in the SEC, one of the best ones. And, I do think maybe if you're looking for some positives, it might be the fact they play Florida and Alabama in the next 2 weeks. But I think the fact that they had an off day, he's got them focused. And, I like Josh Heupel. I read his quotes. A lot of them were coach speak. I mean, he's got the offensive line playing well. Tons and tons of explosive plays. Defense that won't give you any yardage. And there's some truth to all of that. But if you just look from start to finish of a game, consistency hadn't been there, and that's the big thing.
Yep. And this is what I want a lot of fans to take a look at tomorrow as the game develops, as you go through the course of the 4 quarters, is how well is Arkansas able to match up their 5 guys versus Tennessee's down 4? Or whenever they also bring 5 and you have 5-on-5 hats, or if you have a 5-on-6, Arkansas is going to be able to come up with a scheme that can limit the pressure between the 5-on-5s and the 5-on-6s. That's where Arkansas has been getting owned at this point. Now, whenever you're running the ball and it's 5-on-4 hats, Arkansas has been pretty effective between the tackles. It's whenever you have the 5-on-5 and 5-on-6 where you have got to have guys be able to chip, also be able to move to the second level and crash. That's one of the big problems I've been having, because last week what I noticed is that whenever Talon had, say, for instance, Jaquindon on his right side, he'd make a line call. They were bringing pressure on the left side or the right side. Didn't matter which side really it was. It was always opposite of the running back. They'd bring a lot of pressure on one side. They'd twist off the other side so that whenever the tackle goes crashing into the second level, that guy was running free on the backside. And your running back was going more towards the pressure and not picking up the guy that was over here coming free. That's where Arkansas has got to make those differences.
Yeah, if you don't make the decisions pre-snap, you're not going to get to make them post-snap. And that's one thing that Talon is working on, and the offense as well. I would tell you that even when Arkansas has gotten 5-on-5 or 5-on-4 this year, they hadn't done a good enough job. I do think there's some, quality in the tight ends being injured that has been a factor in that as well. Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 of your top 5 tight ends that are questionable, may not play this weekend, and Luke Haas only has 7 catches. I expected him to have close to 30 by now, because I expect him to be a
Yeah.
big weapon as he was in a few games we saw last year. But it's just that's they've run the ball well enough, but they hadn't thrown it well enough. They had lots of explosive plays, but there's consistency that you just gotta have. You can't be second and long all the time. And I'm not saying they have been, but when they struggle, they're second and long.
Yep. Well, Dudley, man, I'm going to get you out of here. Also really quick, softball. Do we have any softball coming up this weekend?
Yes, Sunday afternoon, 1 and 3:30 against Missouri State. I encourage everybody to come out and see. I also think the softball team is going to be better than they were last year. Haven't seen them as much in scrimmages, but what I did see, I understand why all these freshmen that are in here were All-Americans and 5-stars and all that. We'll have a story up on Gabe Gackle and Arkansas's pitching here in just a little bit, and Sunday we'll have a feature on Cam Harrison, who's going to be a monster.
Man, looking forward to it. Well, everybody. And also, really quick, are there any updates with Mike Neighbors and women's basketball? Because I know that the Ladybacks are going to be taking the court here pretty soon, here in a couple weeks.
Added another country to the mix with their recruit, more international flavor. This one, Australia. So we can get into more of that next week as they get closer to, I guess closer to the season. I keep thinking that the Kansas game, the Kansas men's game, is right around the corner, and that's because it's exactly, I guess, 3 weeks, away. So,
and sold out too. Sold out. So, well, Dudley, I'm going to get you out of here, man, and you take care. We'll see you this weekend. And again, scrimmage today for baseball. Also, Arkansas football tomorrow, and then softball on Sunday. So there's a completely packed lineup. If you want to get out, go see some great sports here with the Razorbacks. And two of those exhibitions are free. So if you're in the neighborhood, drop by. Okay, y'all? So for Dudley and myself, Jason, take care and go Hogs.